Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Sunday, December the 16th, and welcome to our video commentary. Well, today we're going to remember something that happened, or a couple of things that happened this week in 1944. When we talk about December 1944, of course, we're talking about World War II. It was the end of a very difficult year, but as well a very successful year for the Allies. You had D-Day, you had the liberation of Paris, and lots of big things that happened, of course, at a great cost of life, to be sure. And on this week in 1944, Glenn Miller, the great musician of the time, band leader, he was probably the most famous recording star musician of the time. He took a flight from London to Paris, and the plane was lost over the English Channel. No one really knows what happened to him. There's all kinds of speculation. There are just as many theories as there are people. We don't really know what happened to him. All we know is that the plane was lost. He never made it to Paris, where he was supposed to be. He was going to Paris to do a concert for the troops and never made it. Now, I remember a few years ago watching a documentary about Glenn Miller, and the documentary was making the case that it was his aircraft flying from London to Paris over the English Channel was actually shot down by friendly fire, that there was apparently some Allied bombers returning back to England, and they may have mistaken the plane. Nobody really knows. There was never any evidence of it. All we know is that he was lost on that day. And that was a real shock for the country because, among many things, the music of Glenn Miller was a morale booster for the troops. So that was a real shock, the loss of Glenn Miller. The other thing that we had this week was the beginning of what came to be known as the Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge was one last effort by Germany at the end of December to basically throw everything they had at the Allies. And it was a very costly battle. Some 5,000 Americans were killed in that battle, many more thousand injured. The losses for Germany were staggering. I read that they lost 900 tanks, a similar number of aircraft. So the losses for them were just absolutely staggering. But it was to some degree successful in the beginning because the Germans caught the Allies off guard, and the Allies really didn't know what to do. And for a while there, the Germans were being very successful. But eventually the Allies turned it around and defeated the Germans. And that was pretty much the end of the line for the Germans. They really had nothing left after that. The war went on for several months. It ended finally at the end of April 1945. But the Battle of the Bulge tested a lot of new troops. A lot of the troops that fought this battle were some of the new arrivals in Europe. And of course, they met the challenge quite bravely, the Battle of the Bulge. This is a pretty good film, the Battle of the Bulge film. That came out a few years ago. I think Henry Fonda is in that film. There's also a great PBS documentary that they show from time to time on the anniversary. I would certainly recommend that documentary. It was very informative and very well done. So we remember the Battle of the Bulge as well as the loss of Glenn Miller this week in 1944. Well, thank you for watching. We have all of these on YouTube. We have them on Twitter. We have them on my blog. And if today is your birthday, happy birthday. Bye-bye, everybody.